Right. Hi, guys. Zeno and Hillze Slamet.
Yes.
Welcome to our class. Our
Thank you.
students were looking forward to meeting you. Unfortunately, we cannot have you in the class, but I think this is second best.
Such
And
a
we're going to
pity.
try. Okay. Right. The first one that I just want to ask you is maybe introduce yourselves. Where are you coming from? How long have you been in Korea? Your journey, maybe up to now. Maybe in short, just let us into that.
Okay, I'm Zeno Slamet. I'm from South Africa. I've been living in Korea for about 10 years. We came the first time in 2001, and then I went back home in middle school. Came back like 4 years ago to complete my university, and yeah.
I'm
Okay.
Hillze's sister. So we basically came the same time and stayed about 15 years in total in Korea. Yeah.
I remember you guys, I met you when you were really, really small.
Yeah,
Little
like,
kiddies, elementary school that time, huh?
yeah, true.
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, that was a long, long time ago. 15 years ago, right?
Time flies.
My goodness. Yeah, and life has had a way with you, and from that time, it's an interesting journey that you had, right?
Yeah.
When did you start learning Korean? Because you are fluent in both English, Korean, and Afrikaans, 3 languages.
Yes,
So
we are.
when did you start?
It started in kindergarten in 2000. We came. Okay, maybe 2002, because 2001 we had a lot of getting used to do. So I think in 2002 we started picking up the language. But like I always tell my friends and everyone who asked me, we never actually studied Korean until I went to university in Korea.
We just we went to a Korean kindergarten, Korean school. So we were actually just forced, not like it was just
We just
if you
forced to
wanted
pick
to
it
come,
pick it up.
you had to pick up. So
and we were, because we were at the time we were the first foreigners to ever join a Korean school. So it was, we couldn't speak Korean, but we just had to communicate somehow. I think that was the best way to learn it, actually, instead of studying.
yeah. So
we picked up the language in like 2 or 3 years.
We just picked it up very quickly.
Yeah. So wasn't it very hard on you to do that as kiddies? I mean, it's a new country, it's a new environment. Suddenly you're in a place where you don't understand a word. How was that to you?
I'll say first. I have one incident that I can remember like it was yesterday. It was, I think, in 2002. I was 7, about 7, and I always get distracted with fashionable things since I was 6. And there was this huge bag. It was a backpack, but it was so big, and I was looking at it, like wondering, wow, it's so big. Like people could fit in that bag. And next moment, I turned around and my family members were all gone. So I was lost. I was so lost, and I couldn't speak a word of Korean. And I had to somehow explain to the ajumma that I'm looking for a mom. And that time, because it was Ulsan too, people were not
used to foreigners.
Yeah, used to foreigners, and they could not speak English, like not like today. And no one could understand me. And I was like, oh my word. I was crying. I was going ballistic because I couldn't communicate with anyone. But luckily, I somehow found a fire station. And that's how they found me. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
So that was, I can clearly. But yeah, we had a lot of challenges. But weirdly enough, that's the only incident I can remember.
We were very young, so for us, we don't really remember. Like my parents nowadays tell us, okay, it was really hard. And my older brother tell us sometimes like how it was, but me and Zeno was very young, so we lived in Korea like it was our country.
It was your country. Talking about fashion, so fashion became your life, right? So tell me about your journey into fashion and your journey into television and programs and so on. You guys had a interesting. Can you hear me?
Just a second. The sound is a little soft.
Okay, right.
Hello.
Can you adjust? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you talked about fashion, and fashion became your life, right? So tell us a bit about the fashion part.
The
of you,
fashion
right?
thing started. Yeah, both of us. I think I started first. I started off first. I started being into fashion at a very young age. Like I used to dress my brother for dates. I used to always tell him, "No, you can't wear this."
He used to go to like all the taekwondo and all that just because of the clothes.
Just because of the clothes, actually. And I met the late designer Andre Kim at the age of 8. I can remember this like clearly too. We were in Home Plus. Then I just saw him and I was like amazed by his appearance, and I just decided to help him pack his groceries. And since then I was always into fashion, and I always pictured looking different, having a different image as such a wonderful thing, because you express yourself from your appearance. And I just thought it was amazing. And then since then I always dreamt of becoming a designer, actually.
And I think with your influence I started also thinking about what I wear, and then slowly I was also very much into fashion.
And that's why I wanted to come back to Korea, because that's where it all started. The whole loving fashion thing started in Korea, so I wanted to finish it.
And K-pop, like with Big Bang and
definitely
dramas too.
Was a huge influence.
Always watch like variety shows as well.
Yeah.
And always think, Korea is on the other league with fashion. And I think one of the main reasons why we came back was we need to start here, and for us to use the language too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was quite an advantage to know the language and to get into the whole world of fashion and so on. And it's interesting that you mentioned Andre Kim, because he had a huge role to play in many foreigners who got into fashion in Korea. And he was sort of one of the gurus of fashion, right?
Yeah, definitely. He was.
Yeah.
Your mentor.
And my mentor at the moment is Lee Sang-bong.
Yeah.
He was a close friend of Andre Kim, and he tells me all the time that two of them were like the leading. Actually, Andre Kim was obviously the leading, designer of Korea, and then Lee Sang-bong, and now Lee Sang-bong is the leading designer. And I'm so blessed to say that I know Lee Sang-bong is such a great person and a great mentor, and he only talks good about Andre Kim, how talented he was and all the things he achieved as a Korean designer.
Helped you for your first show too.
Yeah, and he helped me a lot for my first show. It was I was speechless, actually.
Yeah. He sort of took over from Andre Kim, and he sort of continued sort of legacy and so on. Yeah. And just tell me a little bit about your entertainment world, getting into the K entertainment. I mean, you guys were on quite a few shows, you've got an agent and so on. Just tell us about that a bit.
Well, this is also kind of, I started, very interesting. It was always, actually, we started off because of my brother, to be honest. When we were in
a lot of people was just so amazed about our family, like living in Korea.
Yeah.
Always just found it so fascinating, and since a young age, a lot of TV shows came to film us at home. And I think back, we started also wanting to be. He always wanted to be on screen, like
it was always
his dream.
dream.
My dad randomly actually just found the agency, and then we had the meeting, and
they were like, yes, please,
yes,
we would love to sign you,
and
we signed.
that happened.
I
And then
remember the first thing your dad said to me when we met. He said, "My son is on TV."
Yeah,
he's very proud.
You have to watch. You have to watch. So I remember, and that time you were still about 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, or was it your brother that was on TV? But I remember you guys were also.
It was
you were in a
because,
program. You featured in a program somewhere.
yeah, we it was actually because he was like, we were the first foreign people to go to a Korean school, but vice president of the school, so that was like a big deal. So many stations actually wanted to film us, and I remember we filmed a few times, and the one time, 5 years, and the one time we filmed for a week, so they would we wake up till we go to sleep.
Okay, sort of.
So it was so much fun, I remember. And I always wanted to feel that again. And I think that's why my dad was just like, yeah, contact the people and see what you can do.
And then slowly you just get like contacts of companies that show.
They approach you after a while. So,
yeah, it's not easy to be on TV, but for him, really enjoys it. For me, it's not too stressful because there's so many people watching you, and like so many camera lights on you, and you have the pressure of if something wrong, they need to refilm it. So
like you have to try your best to be natural
and also follow the script. So it's quite a lot of pressure, but he is a natural.
But it really took off after you returned to Korea, started studying again, and so on. And you've done quite a few shows lately, right?
Yeah.
Just tell us about the shows that you guys did.
So I recently I was one of the members of 77 Million Love. It's almost like the show. What's the English name?
비정상회담 is something summit.
Yeah, it's in Korean. It's 비정상회담. So I did my debut on 비정상회담, and that was in 2017. And the recent one I did was 77. Then I did YouTube Charles is like My Neighbor Charles. It's almost like the show is like 나 혼자 산다. It's
I Live Alone.
I Live Alone.
It's a Korean.
Just film your daily.
Of living alone. And I debuted on 태안 외국인.
Yeah, the first episode.
My first episode was on there, and then we did a lot of shows together too. And then our latest one was YouTube Charles, My Neighbor Charles, which was about what our life is right now and what we're doing currently in Korea. Our passion. And how we became, like how my brother is a designer.
And how close we are.
Yeah, how close we are as brother and sister. Because people are so interesting that we are so close and we work together. Like they find it like so interesting.
Yeah.
It's fun to go out.
But both of you are still studying, right? You in your senior year, right?
Yes.
Senior, junior?
Yes, senior year now. We also, actually, we took some time off for like about 6 months because of COVID-19. It's too difficult to study online with the things we're studying. Because we have to be at school. Because we don't have the equipment at home, and the space.
So hard to.
It's way too hard to do at home. So we thought, let's take some time off
and focus on actually our careers properly too.
To focus on our careers too, but also to be able to go back. Easier environment. Yeah, we took some time. But we're still studying.
We're still studying.
We're still on our own.
We actually focus on what we're doing. Who we like actually finding ourselves more now that we're on a break.
And what we're gonna do after studies, because that was always a kind of a worry. What am I gonna do after studying.
Yeah.
Studying, the period of studying is like, I'm a student,
Yeah.
but you can't be a student forever. You're going to have to be able to like, one day going to be like, okay, I'm done now, so what? So for that, so what, we're actually preparing ourselves.
And someone recently told me, like, and that hit me hard, like someone said, you can buy so many things in life, but you cannot buy time. And it took me a while to actually understand that, and I really appreciate time in what we're doing in our time right now. So it just made me realize we really need to do something about now. We need to do something for our career. So I think that's our motto, not my motto nowadays. You need to use your age right now and your time really help you. So that's
because of quarantine.
Oh my, the quarantine thing. I just have a few other questions. Our students ask these questions, and I would like to put that to you. One of the questions is, what was one of the hardest experiences that you have experienced in the fashion industry or in the entertainment industry? What was hard about that?
Do you want to go?
So in the entertainment industry, everything is scripted. So you need to follow the script, and say the filming, it goes almost like 8 hours sometimes. So it's the whole day of filming, being in front of a camera, and obviously remembering your words, and it's just so much pressure. So for a person for me, I'm not really passionate about it, but like I also enjoy it. It's just a lot of stress and like pressure. So if you, like, how do you say, like, it's just a little difficult for
it's definitely a lot of pressure. For me, it was the worst and the most difficult part of filming probably is having to kind of be what they want you to be on the
having
TV.
that image,
having your image, going with that image, having to stick. Like, it's difficult to be a certain image, and that is, it's really hard, especially if you're doing like difficult topics. You have so much studying to do. The first time I filmed, I had my final exam books and my script, and I was sitting in the library at school, and I was thinking to myself, and this was like at 10 p.m.
we were studying it,
thinking to myself, what is this? What should I do? And that was Bijang Sangetam, so it's big. A lot of people watch it.
It was a big show.
And I was thinking, okay, this one is my finals books. No one's going to see my results.
But everybody's going to see it.
Everyone is going to see this if I mess it up. What's it going to be? So I chose my script, and it went well. I got full A's in my results too, which was astonishing. I was over the moon about it.
I was nearly afraid to ask that.
I always have to put that one, don't worry, people. It was all good. And I think that was the sacrifices you have to make of your daily lifestyles.
It's busy. With this filming of the interview with the writers, we were doing. It's so much prep before the show and at the show. So it's just a lot that goes into a show. You really I really got to respect the people that work the cameras, because everything is scripted. So your image that you call up on TV they're already prepped at the writers. So
it's an amazing scene to be at. And then obviously we have the dinners after filming, which not end after 1 hour just eating food. It carries on to the AM, which is lovely. I love it. But the next morning you feel it. So you have to be free for yourself the next day, because you need that rest.
And you're really tired.
Yeah, your professors feel it as well the next day. But I have to try and keep you awake.
But my professors, they were very lenient with me, because it wasn't like a lie, because they actually saw me on TV. So I was like, okay, I understand.
Our lecturer was like, no, just tell us about your life. We're not going to listen. We're not going to do class.
The whole lecture turned into like a lecture, a class about our lifestyles. It was really funny. And it's a big class. It's almost 100 people in the class.
Okay.
And they were like, we actually came late that day because we used to live like 20 minutes from school, and traffic was horrible on that day. So we walked in, and that lecturer really loved us. We loved it too. And
you guys just come up.
See, if you just came, why don't you just come to the front? And I was like, okay, I'm so sorry that I'm late.
Yeah, we were like,
is it about being late? I'm so sorry. So it's like, no. Actually, I saw you on TV last night.
And
just
I really want to know your stories.
It's just too cool. Tell us
I
about
thought that's very interesting. But working in this kind of environment, how do you cope with cultural differences? Or do you feel that you are so much already into the Korean culture? How do you handle culture and cultural differences?
For me, cultural differences must be one of like preparing yourself for shows, and working with other foreigners who's also been in Korea for a while. It's always like a competition act, to be honest, because you want to obviously stand out. But I'm kind of over that stage. I'm like,
and also, there's something like a lot of people have this perspective over your country already. And you, as the representative of your country, have to have this, I don't know, to show off that it's not like that. And that's because people think, okay, Africa, and then they have this whole image, and Korea as well. They have Korea, and then they have their own image. I think with that parts, with the writers, we always like talk about it a lot. Like, it's not like that, and they find it very difficult to understand sometimes. So the differences, I think, comes from that people's perspective over your country and your standing of it's. Yeah, I think that.
Is it difficult for you guys, or is it easy to adapt to that kind of preconceived ideas and so on? How do you experience?
At the beginning, it was a little difficult, but after doing it for some time, I kind of got used to it in a way of everyone thinks differently, and it changed for me from being like I need to inform people about certain things about my country. It changed from informing to teaching them about.
Okay, so educating.
Because there's so many things I don't know about Korea. I've been living here for 15 years. So many things I had to learn when I came back as an adult. And I always think about it this way. When you live in one country, it's really difficult to know about the other country. So you have an image and an idea of something which you give yourself, but obviously that's not the whole thing or case. And for the opportunity and the chance to actually educate people and show them and just giving them a side of the wonderful side of my culture and South Africa is such an honor. So whatever difficulties I go through in the meantime, I just think about as an opportunity to better myself and also to teach myself more about educating.
Korean culture, yeah.
And
That's interesting. Somebody asked here, what do you like about your own culture that you bring in here?
So many. There's so many.
Give
for
us
me,
the main ones, but that you take with you into your careers and so on.
It's definitely meeting people.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think the whole idea of it's okay to just talk to people next to you. It's okay to just compliment the person. It's not a weird thing to do. I think that's what we try to show our friends a lot. Like, it's not a weird thing just to be like, oh, you're you're alone, come join us. Like, you can sit with us. It's okay. Like, I think that was the hardest thing to get used to in Korea when I came back, is making friends. And nowadays, it's like so many people want to do it, but they're so scared. And I think now we know that. So some people will just be so afraid to approach us, but we just like, you know what? This is our culture. Just come join. You will love it. Like. And I think that's what I love about South Africa. And I think we both of us are the same.
Because we missed that so much. And I used to tell my close friends in Korea, but like in South Africa, if you just see something or someone and that person is wearing or doing something you like, just be like, oh, that's so cool. And
like,
just become friends.
Tonight? Yeah, like.
And in Korea, we tried it and it was really difficult because people like me to like, okay, thanks. And then I started telling my friends, oh, I miss it. And then I thought to myself, like, instead of missing it, why don't we just actually try better and do it? And that's what I started to like just approach people, start talking to them.
Talking to them, like.
So you miss the kind of open society in South Africa, people mix and so on. And here you find a bit of a reluctance to do that kind of thing. That's another question here, maybe based on that one here. The guy asked, or the person asked, is there anything in this culture that's considered rude that may not be considered rude in your culture?
Interesting.
Maybe greeting, I think. That's what
we are huggers, no? Right? We hug everybody.
We passionate people. We love greeting and we love hugging.
I think it's like when you didn't see a friend for a long time. In Korea, it's just like, hi, how are you? And it's so weird. I want to like have a whole hug and be happy to see you, but
that's not the case.
Yeah.
And like strangers, you know, when I pass an adult, it's just in my nature and how is to greet a person. If you made eye contact, it's like you need to greet the person, you know. It's just the right thing to do. And many times I've greeted older people and they just look at you like, ask you, do you know me? And I'm like, no. And, you know, I saw you. We kind of had eye contact. And so I think greeting is definitely something very different from South Africa.
I don't think it's rude. Like, you don't find it rude, but
maybe
it's
that
people could find
they find it a bit strange being invaded by a foreigner, right? This space. The other question here is, when people from other countries think about your culture, what do they usually think of? You said something about the writers and the script writers and so on. So
because of the news definitely has a big impact on that. A lot of I always tell my mother especially, news is important, but there's nothing positive on the news. They don't show any positive things on the news, all negative, which is a big part of the image. So on the news, if they talk about South Africa, they talk about the danger, they talk about corruption, they talk about any negative thing about our culture and the country. So obviously everyone thinks that's all that's
now
there.
A lot of people knows that it's a very beautiful country as well. That's also changed through the years. However, the news is kind of like overpowering that part of South Africa, which we think it's very sad, because there's so much to talk about South Africa, and so much to show not only Koreans but everybody in the world. So
like I tell everyone all the time, you know, negativity always overpowers positivity. Like, you can do so much positive things in a day or in your lifetime, but one negative thing will make you a whole negative person. The same thing about news for me. You can show so many beautiful things about South Africa, and show the whole and people and everything. But once the negative side is shown, people only focus on that, and it's so unfortunate. So I think that's definitely one of the things I went through with the writers, trying to tell them and inform them
it's a
that
different side.
not like that. And a lot of times they wanted me to actually exaggerate a little bit about certain things, and I was like, I'm not doing that because I am ambassador of my country.
And not
So
only
So did you guys watch news?
yeah, we do.
You do.
We do because of my
we try
because of
not
my parents.
we actually just be positive about South Africa and like try to just focus on the positive, because as soon as you get into that rabbit hole of just looking at negative things, and you just, I don't know, I just don't like to see it.
But because of Facebook, we always get informed about things.
Facebook is a very good news.
Yeah. So
what is we're talking about positive and negative.
Yeah.
What do you find very positive in Korean culture as such?
Definitely the respect for older people and for strangers. I think is definitely a big positive for me, because how we grew up in our household is always respect older people, even if you don't know the person from any side, whatever, and whoever it is, what job they have, anything, but always have respect. And I think that's definitely one of the good things and the beautiful, showing respect to people you don't know and to older people. So I think that's one thing I even learned more about when I came. And you?
Hillze, what about you?
I think for me, because I grew up, this is like my second home, so it's like respect is also one of the things, but it's the culture of just giving. A lot of Koreans like to give anything they have, which I think I really like that about South Korea's culture. Like, just always wanting to say, give you food or give you whatever they have, even if they don't, you know?
Gifts,
So I think that's part I really like.
True.
So at church, you treat me and treat everybody around me. I really think.
What do you find negative about culture in Korea?
Negative.
Or difficult to cope with?
I think friends for me, like if you in that group, they're only in that group, so they don't socialize if you don't know people around. So I think that's the part
in the group.
We really struggled in uni when we came back, because we just usually just mingle with anybody that likes the same thing as us. But here it was more like, that's my friends and it's an outsider coming into my circle.
Kind of,
But I think we changed a lot with the people around us and also the people at our school, because we just showed that it's okay to just be friends with someone that likes the same thing. Hey, that's the foreign culture. So I think that was the part, not negative, but I think trying to just go outside your bubble. Showing that that's okay.
Another question that I want to ask you, have you ever experienced any kind of discrimination in Korea?
For me, it's a difficult question, actually, because sometimes you don't even know. Like, you have to think about it. But not actually. Because when we grew up in Wonju, we actually forgot that we were foreign. Everyone, we were just.
I sometimes even now forget that I'm foreign.
Yeah, we were just one of the kids, and everyone and all the other students actually never made us feel different. Like, we were just part of the society.
I think it's like sometimes with taxis. So if you get a taxi and then, or if you phone them, then they think it's a Korean, and you get in and they're like, oh wait, what? It's a foreign.
Yeah.
Or like late night, say we go, not now because of COVID, but if we go out and we try to get a taxi, if they see you foreign and they don't really want to.
Yeah.
So I think that was, we were like, why? What is such a big deal?
Because we lived in Wanju, and then we came to the city, so a lot of things are different, obviously, because there's more foreigners, and not all foreigners do good things, unfortunately. And like I said, negativity always overpowers positive. So that's more part of the negative thing foreigners might have done in Korea influences the other foreigners too. So I think that's one of the difficulties we definitely face. So we grew up in Korea, but people that don't know us might just think, oh, they just came like other day and they're just doing what they want to, but not the case. Yeah, so I think in that way maybe could be a difficulty. Yeah.
So you actually never really had a culture shock as such, right?
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, we never had everything just came naturally, and like we just, it's the culture just day by day case.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say is the difference between young people in South Africa and young people in Korea, growing up, maybe because you had a taste of both?
We came back in 2016, and we were quite surprised with a few things of changes that we saw. When we lived here a few years, like 10 years ago, couples were never affectionate in public. They barely hold hands. They used to barely. It was you actually never saw it. But then we came back in 2016, and I was so surprised because they were so affectionate, like couples kissing in public, hugging.
Change extremely.
And I was like, "Wow, this is a big change!" Like I was really, really surprised by seeing that, and it's a good thing. It was a lovely thing because it made it more easier for us to get used to, because we're affectionate. We always love to show. That's the difficult part of COVID as well, because you can't hug anyone anymore. So it's definitely
I
tricky
really
one.
think this generation, it's more about, I hate to, like, I don't know, nowadays feeling like all the youngsters are the same, and because everything is on social media and like about Instagram, they just like the same things, they want to experience the same things, and more I feel like just because of the cultural differences there is a difference, but at the end of the day it's the same, and that's why I always try to make everybody become friends, because they want to experience different cultures, they want to experience different things, and it's the same for all of us. So with South African friends and our Korean friends, I feel like all of us.
Do you have South African friends here?
Yeah, we do have a few. Not many. Not many, but we do have. Unfortunately, I would love to have more, but I don't have that many South African friends. But those who are here, it's like family. Every time we see.
Okay, you enjoy having them. Talking about you mentioned holding hands and so on, the dating. How do you find the differences in dating culture here and in South Africa? What are the differences?
In South Africa, definitely. This is something I always.
Both of you are dating, right? You've got boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hillze? Sorry, I'm
have-
just asking. I'm just being naughty. Okay, tell us.
Yeah, this is definitely the one thing I talk about often. It's maybe the contacting each other. Oh, she just has to run to the loo. It's definitely contacting, like staying in contact all day. To many, like in South Africa, it's not so important to talk the whole day, every day, even if you're dating. But in Korea, they like knowing what you're doing.
So there's a real difference in dating culture. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but luckily I'm used to both sides because I grew up.
Tell us a little bit, because our students don't really know South African dating culture. How do South Africans date?
For instance, in South Africa, when I used to date, it wasn't so like you have to see me now every day, whatever. Um, and friends. It was all in South Africa for me especially. Friends was a big part of my dating, and now same now too. Like you don't. I always say this, but you don't cut your friends out because you date someone. You don't do it because at the end of the day, the relationship might not like go on, but friendship lasts longer. So for me, definitely, like when my girlfriend and I we started dating, our second date was with my friends, just getting to know everyone that I find special in my life. And same, I went to her friends, and in Korea, I feel like that's not the case. Many of my friends, for instance, I grew up with or I know for very long. As soon as they start dating someone, you see them less, and that's kind of a thing that I couldn't get used to until today. I can't get used to. South Africa, friends, girlfriend, they all have to get along, otherwise it's really awkward. So I think that's one of the differences between the two.
And another difference, I think you mentioned something that you already met your girlfriend's parents. But
Oh yeah, yes.
But that is not customary, right?
Yes.
Usually you only meet them when you're going to get married in Korea.
Yes, that's
So
that.
how did you get by that?
You know, I actually forgot about that.
You forgot about.
But no, that's also like my girlfriend was really surprised about that too. She said her previous boyfriends only met her father like one after dating with me, and I met her dad and her mom like 6 months into dating. She met my parents probably like in the second week of dating. um, for me, my family is everything. So acceptance is very important because I can't even imagine having to choose between family and the one that I love. That is like I can't even imagine how difficult that will be if that has to happen. So that's definitely something that I always make sure of. If you get along with my parents, that's like
that's important.
what you yeah.
Let's quickly
So
go back to your fashion world,
yeah,
Zeno, because you've done your first show already, right?
yeah.
Yeah. How did
My
it go?
first. It happened in such a short time. Actually, I couldn't I think it would happen so quickly.
So quickly.
But in that short period of time, I had to create a lot of clothing without planning to do so, and with the help of um, Lisang Designer, I I could manage to do it in a very short time. And because of the COVID, it was a closed show. There wasn't many attending. Only the few people I really want to have there. Like my girlfriend, for instance, she's a designer too, and she helped me to in the process of preparing the because she helped me because I had to stay up few nights, so it was
So it went quite okay, right?
yeah, oh, yeah.
The Korean fashion world,
Yeah.
is it an easy world to get entrance to? Is it a small community? Is it a very close-knit community, or is it a very open international kind of community?
In a certain way, it's international, it's open, but also in a certain way, it's closed. And to be able to enter the closed part, it's obviously very tricky and it's not the easy thing. But once you're in it, like it changes everything. For me, when I came to Korea the first time, it was so difficult. I tried to meet the people that I need to meet, and I tried to just be around the people I'm supposed to be around, but it was difficult to actually find out who those people are.
Yeah.
to be like famous people.
Mm.
That one thing I actually learned this year. It's famous people. It doesn't necessarily mean if you know a lot of famous people, you're gonna be famous, or it doesn't necessarily mean if you know famous people, it's gonna help you in your industry. Yes, it does help. It does, but the important thing is the people behind the scene. Like if we're talking fashion, it's even models. You need to know. And the other important thing is when it comes to people that you work with in the same industries, respecting them, whether you did more than them or it doesn't matter.
No matter what it is.
Yeah, it is. You have to show respect to whoever. And definitely in any scenario, actually, that's definitely an important thing. But yeah, it was Korean fashion world. Half is open and half is pretty closed. So
okay, the fashion itself. Now, both of you are designers. Hillze, you also designer, right?
Yes.
And
He's
what is so Hillze, what kind of style is your designs? What kind of styles are you interested in?
Oh, I'm more into the architecture and interior design.
The interior,
but
okay.
For me, yeah, I like to help my brother on the side too, because the fashion industry, I'm interested in it, but he has a better passion and he understands more about it. So I know how to sew and like everything, but I'm more into the architecture side, and mine is more clean and very nature related style. So
very interesting.
But I think it plays a role with both. So because both of us did color courses, both of us did almost all our courses we did together. So I think we help each other on the side of, if he struggles with something, then he helps. I help him, and if I struggle with something, we help each other with a lot of things.
Zeno, what is your style that you sort of like specializing in, or are you still experimenting?
I am experimenting still, but I definitely love patterns. Patterns. It comes from my culture, because African patterns. It's so beautiful, and that's one of the things that I always dreamt of doing, having a hanbok collection. Which that's why I'm very into hanbok, because my growing up here as a kid, I used to love dressing up in hanboks. So patterns, like I always pictured having a collection at Seoul Fashion Week, a hanbok collection with South African patterns.
So you want to fuse the patterns?
Yeah.
Sort of fuse the styles.
Yeah, collide them.
That's
in
interesting.
in every type of way possibly. And yeah, so definitely it's actually quite interesting, because I have two styles and it's totally different. One is very simple, minimal, and the one is patterns and funky and
do you think you guys, that Korea has a very authentic, in the whole sense of K-pop and the Hallyu, the Korean wave? Do you think Korea has a very authentic Korean take or Korean style in fashion, or do you think they sort of merge with more the Paris or the France or maybe international style? Well, what do you think? Is it authentic, or do you think they sort of follow other styles?
No, I definitely think Korea is the startup to many trends. For instance, when I came,
masks.
yeah, the mask, definitely.
It was before the COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody used to wear
There was
masks, and we stayed in Busan for about a year, and it's quite interesting how different the style is compared to Seoul.
Seoul and Busan style.
Busan and Seoul styles different, and the people is different.
Yeah, but I definitely think South Korea is like a trend starter. So I was always like, even in South Africa, I would always look up Korean styles. That's why I was always different in South Africa, because Korea is always ahead in fashion.
Well, what is the difference in the style, South African style and Korean style? Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, Korea is a season ahead of fashion. So if I look at South African style right now, people don't change so easily. Like
they're conservative, or
yeah. And for me, my image changed each year. Like even you will know, I changed
yes,
my image
I
quite
truly know.
often.
I nearly didn't recognize you.
Yeah, exactly. Quite often I change.
Both
And
of you.
Yeah. We looked at a photo of 2 years ago and we were like, who is those people?
How is that the same people?
I think, like Zeno said, people are very scared not scared, but South African fashion is more about, they stay comfortably. So it's not they don't try to experiment with clothes and wear funky things. Some people do.
This is something that people always ask me this. Who do you think will be the leading fashion capital one day? And they are so surprised by my answer. Firstly, obviously Seoul, which is already a leading fashion capital. But I also say Cape Town, because a lot of people think South Africa not so fashionable. Actually, South Africa will surprise you so much in the fashion industry.
Because of the I went back to my answer earlier, the generation, everything is online. So for now, it's more about posting it on social media and like looking at everybody's style and saying, okay, I'm gonna wear it like that. So people try to be like they see on Instagram.
Getting inspired by.
For me, it changed so much. Nowadays, it's not about whose country is better. It's about just how you show your.
Yeah.
The social media has played a huge role, I think, in fashion industry and any other industry, right? So there's just a few last questions. Our time is nearly up, that I would like to ask you, and I'm taking it from my cue from the students, what they want to ask. What in your culture are you most proud of?
Oh, there's so many too. Like I actually, this is one of the topics I can't stop talking about when people ask me.
Okay, I'll stop you. just to tell us a few.
I think it's the diversity and us just being who we are, and just if you meet a South African person, they are just so proud to be South African. And I think that fact that you're so proud, and I'm not shy to say I'm from South Africa, and I love that everybody is different, and a lot of people is like, if you say you're South African, and they're like, but your skin color, why are you not, and I always say, but South Africa has so many different cultures.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are so passionate to tell them and educate the people. This is how it is. It's not only one race. It's so many races. And we all live in the same country and all represent our country. That's us.
So is that one of the things that you think maybe that's why South Africans adapt easier to Korean living than maybe other countries find it very difficult?
That must be one of the biggest reasons actually why you can adapt, because there's so many different races in South Africa. That's why we call the Rainbow Nation. And I think that is amazing to me. That's one of the greatest cultures I could ever think of. Having so many different people around you, so many things you can learn about, different cultures, different traditions. And it's like I always tell people, you can almost never get bored in South Africa. There's always someone teaching you something.
I think that to adapt in South Africa when we went back and to come back here again so quickly is because we're so used to living or being around so many different races and cultures and respecting each other so much. I think that was also one of the things that, like, our close friends have a different religion as us, and we both respect our religion so much that it's just fine. Like, it's okay.
I think it made us very streetwise too.
Like, you need streetwiseness, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Especially if you travel a lot and you in different places often like us.
Mm.
It definitely you definitely need to be streetwise.
And also about social media, posting at a cool place because you want to show that Korea is like this. And so we look for
Yeah.
small alleys and
Mm.
cool little places to
Mm.
show our people, everybody. And a lot of people is just always like, oh, Korea looks so good because they don't
Yeah.
know a lot about Korea. Like
Yeah.
K-pop.
Yeah, K-pop, of course, and that kind of thing. So you see yourself as ambassadors for Korea to South Africa as well, right?
Oh,
To tell the South
definitely.
Africans more about Korea.
Yes. We always every day actually without actually doing it, we do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You informing people about the lifestyle here and
Mm-hmm.
the city.
The dancing, the
Yeah.
socializing.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we tell
So
people.
you enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
What I maybe just two other questions. The one, you guys were the ambassadors of South Africa to the Olympic Games here, right? You
Yes.
chosen as the South
Yes.
African ambassadors. Yeah.
Yes.
How was
Yes.
that experience during
That
the Olympics?
was
It was the Winter Olympics, right?
that was the Winter Olympics.
It
Yeah.
was amazing.
Although we didn't have a athlete that was actually part, unfortunately, we have but I think he was
Just
injured.
one person, yeah.
Even so, it was.
To
I
experience that.
I was actually so surprised and shocked by the honor that I could like run with
Around the
the
Mm.
torch.
Coach, yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, that was it.
Mm.
And for being like, yes, I was the ambassador for South Africa at the time, but we were like the leading. I ran first, and then it was other countries. So for
Mm.
me, it
Right in
was
front.
it was just so.
I think it's still so real for me. Like I
Yeah,
think maybe a few years later we're just
yeah.
gonna be like, we
Tonati.
We did that,
we
you
did
know.
that, we experienced that,
It was such an honor. And my
and
parents really took us everywhere while doing it. It
I
was
saw
so
that.
cool.
My last question for you both, and I hope I ask most of the questions here. And my last question for you is this: what would you like to tell my class? My class in this course, I think we're about 40 students, and most of them are from different countries. There are a few Koreans, and then there are people from Vietnam and Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan and a lot of other countries. What would you like to tell them about living in Korea,
Uh,
and what is your message for them?
I will go first on this one. I, I, something we always spoke about at school too, and a lot of people told us actually. A lot of our Korean friends told us since first year they always wanted to approach us, but they were too scared. Same goes for us because we thought it would be like it's just weird if we do it. So there was never actually that approaching interaction. Even during class, it was always like, can I go there? Can I do that? Can I speak to this person? It's always a worry in your head. And I would say, don't just whoever you want to speak to, just approach that person. That person is probably wanting to speak to you too. That's like the most important thing, I think.
So
Yeah.
it's okay to make a fool of yourself,
Yes.
to be
Yes.
vulnerable, right? To be vulnerable.
Exactly. You learn from it.
Yeah.
and just
Hilse,
use
how
this.
about you?
I feel like I really want to say, because you came all the way to Korea, I feel like try to do as much as you can here. Like the simplest things of just going for a walk and looking at the nature, or just trying to do so much that later, if you go back, you're just gonna be like, okay, I spend that time doing something I like, or I experience something by just doing something simple. I don't know, just use your time very wise. And it's really important, especially with COVID at the moment. Like we had like quarantine and stuff, but I really try to go to new places, try to, you don't need to be social, but
Even
just
for Korean people,
just
actually
try to do something
different.
different every weekend or every day. And that's for me what I want to say to the class. Like,
Okay. Thank you so much for this time. We had a nice long time speaking. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, my best wishes for you in your career.
Thank you
and
so
I
much.
hope that we're going to see you a lot of times on
Definitely.
television and so on. And
yes.
that my students can look out for you on television and wherever you are.
We're always smiling and we're always happy to meet new people.
Yeah, so anytime. This was lovely.
Thank you so much.